All right, I think I am live. Just invite some people here if I can. Even though this will not be recorded through StreamYard, this will hopefully be saved to YouTube. I imagine it will. So, because even though this is a stream, I'm gonna treat it kind of just like a normal video. Um, I just found that I guess streaming is a little better just because you got everything right then and there. Whereas if you're making a video, you have to edit and stuff, and it can be a little tedious. But I'll definitely wait and see if I can get at least a couple people in the chat. And if not, then I'll just go along as normal. So wait a couple of minutes here. All right, I'll give about another minute, see if people come in the chat, and if not, like I said, I'll just go as normal. Um, it's definitely a little bit awkward trying to treat this like a normal video, but again, hopefully this will be uploaded to YouTube and regardless. Um, so I don't really feel like I'm entirely talking to myself. Um, all right, well, I will probably go ahead and just start off. So, first things first, I want to clarify a few things. Um, so, I simply decided to do this because I just thought it'd be kind of fun, and I just kind of want to get some of my opinions on these movies out there and what I think of them. Um, um, yeah. So now again, I am doing this as a stream instead of an actual video because just editing, I really do not like editing. It's kind of a pain sometimes. So I'm just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna do a stream and then have a recording of it on YouTube and boom. So, um, but another thing I want to get out of the way is please keep in mind these are 100% my opinions. These, this is not something to take personally. I know a lot of people get very personally attached to these movies, and I honestly can get that way sometimes too. And um, but I just ask that my viewers be respectful, and as I have some very big hot takes in here. So, um, what else? Trying to remember what else I wanted to say before I started. Um, I think that's about it. But yeah, basically just these are 100% my opinions. I do not ask people to agree with me. If you disagree, that's totally fine. But I just ask that you be respectful about it and not, be a prick, basically, about it, because I have seen where people do get very self entitled. And so, it's a common thing in geek culture in general that, that kind of stuff happens kind of quite a bit. So, um, but yeah, that's all I'm asking is that people just respect my opinions, um, and so that's pretty much all that out of the way. So without further ado, I am going to start this ranking. And I will also have a little bit of a bonus at the end where I kind of like talk about what Godzilla movies that I would want to see get made, or and one of my and what my favorite things about uh, Godzilla movies and giant monster movies as a whole are. But again, that'll be saved as kind of like a little bonus at the end. Um, but I will go ahead and start things off with Godzilla's Revenge, aka All Monsters Attack from 1969, as number 36 on the list. This is probably not surprising to a lot of people because this is, from what I can understand, this is one of the most universally hated or universally disliked Godzilla movies. There's really only a few people I've seen that like it. But again, if you like this movie, that's totally fine. I can definitely understand there is definitely a message in this movie, but it's not very clear. It kind of undermines the message at the end where the kid like joins with the bullies for some reason. Um, so that never made really any sense. Yeah, I do not like this movie at all. This is one of the very few Godzilla movies that I actually dislike. I do love pretty much most of these movies apart from maybe like the first few on this list. Um, but and I do honestly love bad movies. I love movies that fall into that so bad they're good category. Like for example, a Reptilian or the Young Gary remake, which is one of the most hated kaiju movies of all time, and I actually quite enjoy it. Even though I acknowledge that it's a terrible movie, that doesn't mean that it's not fun. You know, it's still a fun film, just not very well made. Um, but Godzilla's Revenge is pretty much the opposite. At least in my opinion, like it's so bad to the point where it's pretty much unwatchable. And I don't think I've ever felt that from a movie. This is like one of the few movies that I've seen that I do not want to watch ever again unless I'm paid to. But um and it's unfortunate. Plus this movie, at the end of the day, this movie isn't really about Godzilla, it's more about this kid. And that always bothered me. This, being labeled as a Godzilla movie and all that, but I get what they were trying to go for. It's just, in my eyes, it's very poorly executed. Um, the kid is really annoying, especially in the English dub. Now, I've only seen the English dubs of these movies, or most of these movies anyway. I have not seen the original Japanese versions to a lot of these yet, but Revenge is definitely the worst. Oh, hey, someone is actually watching. So to get you all caught up, so basically, oh, never mind, they left. Okay. Um uh so I guess I'll just carry on. Um so yeah, Godzilla's Revenge, easily the worst movie in the franchise in my opinion. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, period. Um like I really could not stand it. I remember when I first watched it, or the only time I watched it, which was on TV. Um I kept looking at the time like, my God, is this over yet? Like, come on. Like I could not stand it. Um but again, I do get why some people do appreciate this movie. Oh, excuse me. And that's totally fine. That's totally your opinion. Um so so moving on, number 35, Son of Godzilla from 1967. Wait, did I say 1969 for All Monsters Attack? Oh well, whatever. But yeah, next is Son of Godzilla, which I also really do not like. There are a lot of people that do like it, which I appreciate. Um, but it's, to me, it had kind of the same flaws that Revenge did, where it's just really boring. There's not really much that happens. Especially in Son of Godzilla, there's not really a whole lot that happens. I do not like Manila as a kaiju or a character. It's one of my least favorites of the franchise. Um, and yeah, I did not really care for Son of Godzilla. Um, so that's one that I also would probably never watch again, unless I'm paid to or in a good mood, or having like a really good day. Um, but yeah, um, I did not like it. Um, a lot of people do though, which again, I can see why. There are some very heartwarming things that about it that I can see why people would like it. Um, but it's just not for me. So, um, next, number 34, Godzilla 1998. This may come off as a bit of a surprise because some people might have been expecting this to be at the bottom. for most people, but for me, I get it. It completely butchers the character. Um, Nothing about it is like Godzilla. You know, the the whole plot with the B plot with the eggs hatching was stupid. I get it. It was more of just a jab at Jurassic Park more than anything. It wasn't really about Godzilla. Again, more of a jab at Jurassic Park. But to be fair, I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. And this was the first Godzilla movie I ever saw. I think I saw this I think it was on YouTube. Um, a long time ago, like when I was like a preteen, I believe, when I saw 98. Um, I was probably about 11 or 12 when I saw it. But yeah, I can't remember if I saw it on YouTube first or if I saw it on TV first. It was one of the two. Um, but this movie is actually fun as hell, man. Like this movie, it's fun. It's kind of like what I was saying earlier about Reptilian, where it is a terribly made movie, but man, is it fun. Um, it's the same reason I enjoy uh a lot of those types of movies, like movies from like the Asylum or the Sci-Fi Channel. I enjoy a lot of those movies. I really do because although yes, they are very poorly made, they can be really freaking entertaining. Um, so, but um, and 98 definitely kind of falls into that category. Um, Most of the actors are not very good apart from Jean Reno, who is amazing in this movie. Um, easily, the character of Philippe is easily the best character the entire movie. Um, and and yeah, I even watched the animated series that was a sequel to this, and it is like a lot of people said, I agree, it is miles better than the movie. Because they actually try to make Godzilla more like actual Godzilla, um, while still keeping the same design of 98, of course. But um, so yeah, and when it comes to rating this, that is difficult because you kind of have to look at it in two different ways. And I know this may sound cliche, and people have said this a million times before, but to be fair, it's true. You kind of have to look at it in two different ways. Like as a monster movie, it's fun. It's a fun monster movie. Now, if I was doing a general monster movie ranking, this would definitely be a lot higher. But when it comes to Godzilla, the it butchers the character so much that you kinda have to, like, put it lower just because, like, of just how much it butchers the character. Um, so but, yeah, that's my opinion on it anyways. Like, I'll still watch this movie on occasion, like, I've seen this movie about probably 5 or 6 times. Um, yeah, it's a fun little movie. It definitely has problems, um, and it's definitely not really a proper Godzilla movie, but as a monster movie in general, it's pretty fun. So, so with that out of the way, number 33, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, or AKA Ebirah Horror of the Deep from 1966. Um, this movie, I was debating on if I should put 98 over this one because Ebera is almost the opposite of what 98 is, where Ebera is very, very boring. I was bored out of my mind watching Sea Monster. Um, I just there are a lot of people that do actually really like it. And again, I appreciate that, and I'm totally cool with that. Um, but Sea Monster for me, it was very very boring. Hey Mello, how are you doing? Someone actually is watching this now to get you all caught up. Basically, um, oh, he left too. Oh, come on. Um, I hate when people just keep like joining and leaving because it makes things very confusing. um, like what do you do in that situation? Just I guess I have to just kind of keep trucking along. But oh, you're still here. Oh, I thought you left. It said on like my the little view icon at the top said went back to 0, so that was kind of weird. I don't know why it did that if you're still here. But yeah, like just to get you all caught up, uh I'm just going over basically every Godzilla movie, ranking them all based on my opinion. This will be uploaded, hopefully be uploaded to YouTube. Um so you guys can all watch it as like an actual video. So that's why if you're confused why I'm talking with nobody watching, that's why, because I'm kind of treating this as just a normal video despite it being a stream. So because I really do not like editing. So, but yeah. Um so getting back to Sea Monster, yeah, I really don't care for Sea Monster. It's really boring. Not a lot happens. Um, yeah, it's pretty much so. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. There's not really a whole lot I have to say about Sea Monster. Um, again, I was debating on if I should put it over 98 or not because 98 is almost the complete opposite, where it's like really fun from like start to finish. So, but 98 butchers the character. So it's again, it's kind of a, you know, like which one do I put over which one? It was a bit of a difficult decision, but ultimately I decided to put Sea Monster over 98 just by like a smidgen. So, um then next number 32, Godzilla versus Megalon. From 1973. Now, I know a lot of Showa fans are probably screaming at me right now because many people there's a lot of people that love this movie. A lot of people love this movie. You'll commonly hear a lot of Godzilla fans say that and say that this was their first. There's a lot of people that I've met that have said this was their first one actually. Um, and again, same with Sea Monster and Son of Godzilla. Yeah, child favorite, yeah. I totally get that. But for me, it's just you don't really get Godzilla in it till the very end. It's definitely more about Jet Jaguar, and that whole thing, which I believe originally it was designed around Jet Jaguar, but they decided to put Godzilla in it last minute so it would be more marketable. Um, but yeah, it's pretty boring, honestly. There's not really a whole lot that happens besides the final fight at the end. Um, Now, and I am okay when it comes to, like, the whole dropkick scene, I am okay with some dumb stuff in Godzilla movies, but to a point. Um, like, it can be stupid, but not too stupid, like, if it's, like, say, the tail drop kick, or even dumber, the dance scene in Astro Monster, or that was very out of place, and the, oh, what's another good example? Oh, yeah, the flying scene from Hedorah, like, those are a little bit too off just dumb for me, like, those I don't really, like, care for that much of, so but there are other parts to, like, some of the newer movies that I really enjoy, like, the scene with, the what was it? I'm trying to remember, it was yeah, the sumo, not the sumo, the body slam, that's the word I'm looking for, the body slam scene from, Megaguirus. That was actually pretty fun. That was a pretty funny little moment. Um, it didn't I mean, it was kinda out of place, but it didn't ruin the movie, it didn't ruin the pacing or anything for me. Um, and then, of course, there's the scene in Final Wars where they, like, play soccer for a moment, um, which again, I'm totally fine with. Again, I can take stupid in Godzilla movies, but to a point. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um, and you will now, a lot of Showa fans are probably hating me right now because, again, you could probably tell, like, a lot of the Showa movies are lower, which, again, like, I love most of these movies. There's a lot of Showa movies in this series that I do love, but it because there's so many movies in this franchise, it's very difficult to figure out which one you like more than the other. So, um but yeah, anyways, that's Godzilla versus Megalon. Not really a fan of it that much. Next, number 31, Godzilla versus Hedorah, or Godzilla versus the Smog Monster from 1971. This movie I also really didn't care too much for. This movie I've definitely seen very mixed opinions on. Like, I've seen people either love it or hate it. Um, yeah, this is a weird this is a weird movie. I do know that, or I have heard that the director is a very, let's just say, interesting person. To put it mildly. Um, but there's a lot of weird stuff in this movie that doesn't really make any sense. You also have of course, the flying scene, which just really took me out of the movie. I'm just like, okay, what the hell, you know? But you know, I don't really like Hedorah as a monster. I did, however, enjoy that short that came out recently where it had, like, the Final Wars Hedorah and Final Wars Godzilla in it. That was fun. That was pretty fun. Um, but yeah, not really a big fan of Hedorah. There are a couple of moments that I did enjoy, but, like, oh, I forgot to mention this in Megalon. So there was kind of a trend in a lot of Japanese tokusatsu around the 60s and 70s where they were more geared towards kids. So what they did was, because they were more geared towards kids, they said, "Hey, let's have a child character in these movies so kids can attach to him because other kid. Um, and that's basically all they were was just a kid, just there. And I always hate these decisions because it really just ruins the experience for me because it's like this is kind of an issue you see with other stuff like for example like Power Rangers Turbo had that same issue where they had like the kid um for whatever reason or just to appeal to kids. um it's basically what the a lot of the Showa movies do. So um and I'm not really a big fan of that. So I don't really, especially like the child actors in these are terrible, especially in the English dubs. They are just they're obnoxious, they're annoying. I cannot stand them. Um and it's not to say all child actors are bad. There are very good child actors out there, but like the ones in these are some of the worst I have ever seen. Um all they're doing basically is just screaming at the camera for 5 seconds, like, at a time. So and just being very obnoxious, and it bugged the crap out of me. Don't forget Over the Top, yeah. Um, so that's another reason why a lot of the Showa movies are lower on my list, just because if it has a kid in it and they're gonna be obnoxious, it takes me out of the movie. So and just doesn't make me want to watch it anymore, to be honest. Um, so, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Hedora. Not too much, but it is definitely a very weird. It's a very weird movie, but it's definitely not my type of thing. Um, and moving on to number 30, we have Godzilla Raids Again, or Gigantus, the Fire Monster. um, from 1955. A lot of there are some. Well, I have seen some people that say that this is the worst movie. I know that I think it was Monstrosities said this was like their least favorite one. Um, which I can totally get. It's very badly made, like very badly made. There's a lot of errors made in it with the whole like the fight footage, Godzilla having Angurus's roar for some reason. Um there's a lot of weird errors that were made. It was a cash grab. Yeah, it was a quick cash grab. Um and honestly, at least here's the thing. At least it's entertaining. And again, this is the same thing I said about movies like Godzilla 1998 and Reptilian is although they're poorly made movies, they're still entertaining. As I think to me, as long as they're just generally fun to watch and not boring, then I'm cool. I'm cool with it. So, um, but it definitely falls on that edge of like, do I like it? Do I not like it? Type of deal. It's very hard to describe. Um it's definitely kind of in the middle there. So next, oh my god, this is probably gonna get I am probably gonna get so much hate mail for this one. But number 29 is believe it or not, Mothra versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus the Thing from 1964. You're probably screaming at me right now saying, "Why is this so low? Why'd you put this so low?" Here's the thing. I personally am not a big fan of Mothra. Mothra is actually one of, if not my least favorite monster in the franchise for several reasons. The first thing is that I really do not like the fairies. I think they can be a little bit annoying, and just kind of forced in at times. Yeah, I know, right? You're not the only person that's surprised. Like people, I swear to God, like people have gone after me for this opinion, and I know it is a very unpopular opinion, a very hot take, but hear me out. Like, um, I even said in the description, like, there's gonna be some hot takes in this. Um, it was then robbed from me. Oh, that's okay, Acno. I am currently on Mothra versus Godzilla right now. So, if you want to, this will be hopefully uploaded to YouTube, so you can watch it all the way through if you want. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much that. As I was saying, Mothra is one of my least favorites in terms of monsters. Um, and I know I'm also gonna get some people that are gonna be like, "Oh, well, you're just you're just anti-women or whatever because Mothra is a female or crap like that," which that is absolutely not the case. Like there's just parts to Mothra that I really do not care for. Like again, the fairies I just kind of find annoying. Um, and I don't really like the song either. It just kind of turns the movie into a musical all of a sudden. And that was also kind of an issue with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla as well, where they had that really long musical scene for whatever reason. Um, I don't hate the movie, I just kinda don't really care for it too much. There are good moments in the movie that I do enjoy, like, there are some Godzilla scenes in there that I do enjoy, um, but everything with Mothra, I just really do not care for. I don't like the design at all. It's definitely very different, and I definitely feel like it doesn't really fit with all the other monster designs from Godzilla. It's very different in that way, and um um and yeah, I really do not care for Mothra. Um so and like I said, there's several reasons why. Um but probably this is probably my biggest hot take of the whole thing. And I know again a lot of people love this movie. A lot of people do. And again, I totally get it. There is a good message here about greed that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that plot line, but overall I really didn't care for it too much. So, yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Acno. Um but moving on to number 28, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster from 1964. Oh, excuse me. I just ate recently. So, um, but yeah, Ghidorah, three-headed monster. It's understandable though. Yeah. But yeah, Ghidorah, three-headed monster from 1964. This is, I think, the first movie on the list that I generally kind of like, at least a little bit. Um, Besides 98, of course, which is lower again for the fact that it's just kind of butchers the character, even though it's a really fun movie. Um, But three-headed monster, like, I there were parts of it I liked and parts of it that I did not like. Pretty much everything with Ghidorah in this movie is amazing. I love it. Um, However, there are bits and pieces to it that kind of drag it down for me, like the again, Mothra, like everything with Mothra just it drags it for me. Um and Mothra in this probably does one of the dumbest things I've seen in Godzilla movies besides the flying scene in Hedorah and all that. She freaking translates what the monsters are saying, and then it's like then there's that infamous line, "Godzilla, what terrible language," or, whatever. That bugged me. That really bugged me, and, again, I never cared for that much, and, uh, so, yeah, it's okay. It's definitely again, it's the first movie on this list that I generally kinda like a little bit. Um, a movie that I would rewatch on a good day. Um, but yeah, so, number 27, King Kong versus Godzilla from 1962, the original. Um, I also have some very mixed feelings about this movie. Um, Tier list live stream, yeah, that'd be cool. Um, but yeah, like I didn't really know what to think about this movie at first. I thought it was just okay. There are things about this movie that I love. Like there's some really cool sequences in this movie that I really love. There's some really fun characters in this as well, like freaking Mr. Taco. Just one of the most fun characters in this. Um, but there's also some moments that hinder it, like why the hell does King Kong get electricity powers? Like, where does that come? Why is that a thing? I get it. They try to even him out with Godzilla and all that, but come on, like that's just simply pulling random abilities out of your ass. Like that's what the equivalent of that is. So, but but yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it other than I thought it was okay. Um, so um, oh my god, it's already 40 minutes in. Holy crap. I might try to go through these a little bit quicker, but I'm not making any promises. Um, uh, Number 26, Godzilla versus Gigan, or also known as Godzilla on Monster Island for some reason, from 1972. This movie I also have mixed feelings about. It's got great moments and it's got bad moments. The great moments are with Godzilla and Gigan. I I love Gigan. I'm not too big of a fan of his Showa design. But he is still pretty fun in this. There's a lot of great sequences with him. Um, and the human characters were also okay. Um, there was though that dumb plot with the fact that there's like a mixtape or whatever that the aliens used to like um I can't remember. I think it was to communicate with them. I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a while. Um But basically, this makes Godzilla and Anguirus actually talk. Yes, they actually give them voices, which is like, what the actual hell? So, but that's definitely the weakest part of the movie. The rest of the movie I thought was pretty decent. So, um, and that's really all I have to say about Godzilla versus Gigan. Um, I am also excited for that short that's coming up, that CG short that they're doing for the 50th anniversary of this movie. So, strangest monster designs. Yeah, it's really out there. It's very much along the lines of like an ultra what you'd see in like Ultraman or Super Sentai. So, um, but yeah, uh, number 25 is the second movie in the anime movie trilogy, and that is Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle. This movie is pretty boring and is pretty disappointing because again we don't see Mechagodzilla like in full in this movie. We only see him as the city. Um, we see his head, but for like a brief shot, and that's it. I know a lot of people hate the anime trilogy, and I totally get why. I do think there are some good moments to it. There is a couple of good action scenes in this movie, and there's also uh, this has some really good music in it too. The music in it is very good, but everything else about it just is not very good. So it's definitely again a very mixed bag. So uh, number 24, we have the first movie in the anime trilogy, and that's Planet of the Monsters. Um, and this was also okay. You know, it's I love the origin. I love the beginning. Every pretty much everything after it though is kind of dull. Um, I love the idea behind this universe. It's just the problem is they spend more time telling than actually showing. Um, so which you wouldn't expect from an anime. You'd expect an anime to be all out, just like crazy. But no, they didn't go that route. They try to like hide Godzilla for like as much as they possibly can, and like try to hide any action for as long as they possibly can. So to focus on what are honestly kind of boring characters. Um, so, but but yeah, I love the idea behind it. I love how like the idea that, monsters have, taken over Earth, and, there's they have to like go to a different planet, and then they decide to come back to try and actually take it back. I like that. I like that idea a lot. It's just not executed the best. Um, but again, there are some good moments to these three movies, but they're okay. I don't think they're as bad as people say they are, but they're definitely not the greatest. So, um, uh, number 24, or not 24, 23, is Godzilla the Planet Eater, the third and final movie in the anime movie trilogy. This is definitely the best of the 3 because you actually get a somewhat monster battle in this. It's not really a monster battle, it's more of just kind of like Godzilla just standing there with Ghidorah just, like, grabbing grabbing him. That's really all it is. Um, no, singular this is just the movies. This is not, the shows. So, I might do a show list at some point, but I don't know. I'll have to see. Um, um, but yeah, so the anime trilogy as a whole, it's okay. It's not as I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, but it's it's definitely got problems. There are some things to like about it. Um, Again, the story is very interesting. It's just really a shame that they spend more time with these pretty dull characters and they spend more time telling than actually showing. So, and what also because what really irritated me about one thing that really did irritate me about the beginning of the first movie was the fact that these like cameos, these monster cameos from like a bunch of different movies, they're like a split second and they're literally these like 2D cardboard cutouts and they're not like actually full on animated, which also really bothered me. Surely they could have put a little more effort into those cameos to make them really pop. But um but yeah, that's my opinions anyways on the trilogy as a whole. So, number 22, Terror of Mechagodzilla or The Terror of Godzilla, from 1975. Um, this now we're getting into the movies that I really really like. Or most of the movies from here on out, I like in some way. Um, and also do have some little tiny issues with some of them, but yeah, I we are getting to that moment now where uh, we're getting to the point where these are movies that I do actually pretty much like for the most part. So, but yeah, um, this Terror of Mechagodzilla is a lot of fun. It is a very, very good sequel to the original. I definitely don't think it's as good as the original, but it is very close. It is right up there with the original in terms of how just fun and enjoyable it is. I love the characters in this. You know, Doctor Mifune is a pretty relatable kind of mad scientist villain. Katsura is also um, a very tragic character in this. Um, there's a lot of great monster moments, and there's a lot of great character moments. So, but yeah, number 21, the we have the original Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or what was some of the titles that it had in the United States were also Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster and Godzilla versus the Bionic Monster. So, which um, I think were only used on some of the VHS releases in America, I believe. Um, but this movie is also a lot of fun. I love this movie so much. Um, and it's one Terror Mechagodzilla. It's one of the favorites of the Showa era for me. Really the only thing that I do not like about it is that 3-minute sequence of the girls singing to King Caesar to wake him up, like, that goes on for way too long, um, and that really should have been cut down, but for whatever reason, it wasn't, so, um, but yeah, so that is the original Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Um, Number 20, Invasion of Astro Monster, also known as Godzilla versus Monster Zero, or just simply Monster Zero, whatever you want to call it, from 1965. This movie I also really, really enjoy. This is another favorite of mine of the Showa era. Um, there's just a lot to love here. Oh my god, the characters are so much fun. Like Nick Adams, bless his heart, like Nick Adams is so good in this movie. He runs circles around everybody else in terms of how much he gets in character. Um, but yeah, he's easily the best character of the entire movie. Um, but this movie is a lot of fun. It's definitely, in my opinion, better than the first Ghidorah movie. Um, I think the pacing is better. I think it's a lot more fun. The characters in this one I think are better. Um, so yeah. Um, I this is the first time, of course, we actually get actual aliens, like actual full on aliens, which is really cool. One of the only things that I did not like about this movie was the random dance sequence that comes out of nowhere. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but because a lot of people think that's one of the best parts of the movie, but and it is funny, but it's just very out of place. It really it comes out of absolutely nowhere. So, um, but yeah, ultimately I love Invasion of Astro Monster. Um, Number 19, getting into the top 20. Um, we got so 19, we got Destroy All Monsters from 1968. I also really enjoyed this movie. It can get a little boring at first, but I think once you get about 30, I mean, this kind of has the same issue that Godzilla versus Gigan had, where it's very slow at the beginning, but the last 30 minutes are amazing. Um, so, but yeah, this movie is I love it. Um, this is like the first time we like fully see like all the monsters like unleashed and just like you know destroying everything, and then the heroes trying to like figure out how to stop all of it. Yeah, this was a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed this one. Um, I'm a big sucker for alien invasion plots in general. I think are really fun for these types of movies. So, but yeah. Um, Number 18 is, this might surprise some people, Godzilla 2014. Um, I do like 2014. It definitely has problems. Um, there are some pacing issues. Some of the characters are a little dull, apart from Bryan Cranston, who's amazing. But um, there were definitely some pretty poor decisions with this. Killing off Bryan Cranston in the first half hour, and the whole thing with the tease up to Godzilla just basically being, "Oh, hey, look here, it's Godzilla." "Oh, never mind, he's gone. Oh, hey, it's Godzilla again. Oh, never mind, he's gone." It usually cuts right before it's him and the Muto about to fight, and it cuts, and it it bugged the crap out of me. It bugged the crap out of a lot of people. It's like, "Oh, come on." You build up to this thing only for you to just instantly cut away from it. Um, as soon as it begins, that bothered me a lot. I hate how much it teased. I also really didn't care for the Mutos. And of course, the trailer, the original like teaser trailers for this were very misleading because they didn't show the Mutos at all. They mostly just showed Godzilla, and we thought Godzilla was going to be like the main villain of this, which I think would have been a much better option. Um, but yeah, I think it definitely would have worked better as a solo Godzilla movie. Um, but because there's a lot of cut parts from the trailer. There's most of the footage from the trailers, from the teaser trailers, do not end up in the final movie. Um, so, but here's to hoping eventually they release a uncut or like a an uncut version of some sort. So, um, number 17 is Shin Godzilla. Now I know there are people that absolutely love Shin Godzilla. A lot of people, there are people out there that say, "Oh, this is like the best Godzilla movie ever made." And I can kind of see that. This is kind of like where God with Godzilla's Revenge, where I kind of struggle to relate to other people's opinions. Um, because this is one where I really don't understand all of the praise. I mean, there are good moments in this movie. There genuinely are. Like there's a lot of really imposing scenes with Godzilla that are really well done. Um, However, the main problem with this movie in my eyes is it's not really about Godzilla. It's about Japanese politics. Um, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. And when it comes to this in 2014, it's very hard for me to decide which one to put over the other because I think ultimately they have the same amount of strengths and weaknesses. Um, so they're pretty much even for me because each one has their own flaws and their own merits. So um, but I definitely think and you can like the Japanese politics thing. It's not a bad decision. It definitely wasn't it definitely wasn't made to be something to be watched by others besides Japanese because it's very much a Japanese political movie um, that a lot of people outside of Japan will not understand. So, um, but yeah, overall, I thought it was decent. I don't think Shin Godzilla is as good as other people say it is. Um, but there are parts of it I did genuinely enjoy. Um, so um, number 16, um, we have Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth from 1992. Again, this in my opinion is the weakest of the Heisei series. Again, because Mothra just this movie has a lot of Mothra in it. There's From what I remember, there's hardly any Godzilla in this movie. and the Godzilla moments are great, but he's barely in it. Um, so, but I do still enjoy this movie despite it being mostly a Mothra movie, because there are some great moments in it. Um, so, but yeah, um, um, plus the characters I thought were also okay. Um, so number 15. Um, oh, this one. Oh, I am going to get so much backlash for this one. Number 15 is the original Godzilla. God 54, the OG, or King of the Monsters, the American version, whatever you want to call it. Now hear me out before everyone starts yelling in the comments. Hear me out. Um, I do love this movie. Again, I love most of these movies. Um, Apart from maybe like the bottom 7 probably are the ones that I really don't care for, but everything from, like, number 28 onwards are movies in the franchise I really do enjoy, despite me having certain flaws with them. So, but, um but yeah, like, I do genuinely love the original Godzilla. I genuinely do. It's a classic. It's amazing. It has a message to tell, and it shows. And and I love it I love it for what it is. Um, However, I definitely think it is a little bit too overrated. Just a little bit, because I definitely think there are other movies in the franchise out there that are more enjoyable, than 54. 54 is a little slow at times. Um, there are the characters in it are fantastic. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing. But again, it definitely can be a little slow, and you gotta keep in mind that this isn't really a movie you wanna watch over and over again, because this movie is very dark. There's quite a few dark parts in here that sometimes can be very hard to watch. So it's not really a movie you'd wanna watch all the time, which is why I have it placed where I have it placed, because it's like, in terms of rewatch value, this movie doesn't really have that because of just how dark it can get, um, and of how depressing it can be. Um, there are also a couple, not that most of the scenes in this movie do hold up really well, apart from maybe like 2, that I can think of, which there's one scene with, "Oh, hey, Draco," or, "Hey, uh, Draco, how you doing?" Um, but yeah, there's one scene in 54 that I do honestly kinda chuckle at from time to time, and that's the scene. I can't remember what it was, but it's like a scene where it's the hand puppet. Oh, that's good. But yeah, it's the hand puppet, where it's a close up of the hand puppet, and it's got like the weird googly eyes, and it just made me chuckle a little bit, just because of just how honestly just dumb it looked. Um, and I get it. They didn't have the technology to like make an entirely suit accurate face for the hand puppet, but it's not a very good hand puppet. Oh, I'm talking about 54. Um So, the suit itself, though, is freaking amazing. I love the original Godzilla suit. It's just the hand puppet is definitely not the best. But there are a couple moments in the film where it is very obviously low budget. But for the most part, it holds up really well. And I do really enjoy it. I know you're probably like, why is it so low? But it's not too low. It's like it's right in the middle. I enjoy it, but it's definitely a movie that you don't really want to watch over and over again just because of how dark it is. So, um, but that's my 2 cents on it. I know a lot of people are probably screaming screaming at me right now for it, but like, um, there are Godzilla movies that I do like more than 54, and that's totally fine. You don't everyone does not need to have 54 as their number 1 or their number 3 or number 5, like, it's a good movie. It really is, but I think in terms of entertainment value, it definitely isn't all the way there. There are again fun moments to it. Like the rampage scene I thought was really well done. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I don't want to park on 54 too long, but that is how I feel about it. I definitely think it's a little overrated in the fan base. Um, so because of that, so um, but anyways, again, just because it's the first doesn't mean it's doesn't mean it's the best, even though it is still very well made. So, but yeah, exactly. Like, you know, it's it's a good movie, but because of how dark it is, it can be hard. There are parts of it that can be really hard to watch. So it's not really a movie that you want to put on all the time. Which is why I have it at the number that I do. So, number 14, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 from 1993. I also love this movie as well. Um, so the top pretty much 15 movies on this list are movies in the franchise that I really, really like, really, really like. So, they're like some of my favorites of the entire franchise. Um, so yeah, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 from 1993. I love this movie. Um, yes, the baby Godzilla thing is a little bit odd. Um, but I liked baby Godzilla. He's cute. He's definitely not ugly like Manila. He actually looks like a proper like baby Godzilla. Um, so but but yeah, so I love the Godzilla parts and Mechagodzilla parts in this movie as well. The characters are also really, really engaging. So yeah, there's not much else I have to say about it besides that. But anyways, I'm already like almost an hour and 15 minutes into this, so I want to kind of get through these as quickly as I can. Um, so number 13. Here's another surprise to a lot of people. This is another very hot take. Number 13 is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla from 1994, one of the most hated in the franchise, right next to Revenge, believe it or not. And to be honest, I don't understand why. Yes, it's kind of all over the place, but honestly, it's all over the place in a good way. It's enjoyable. The characters are enjoyable. Um, I don't think it's nearly as bad as people say it is. Um, yeah, lowest Godzilla film. Oh, you missed it. It was Revenge. Revenge was the lowest one. Um, but I do enjoy this movie a lot. I love Space Godzilla. Space Godzilla's cool. Um, a lot of people do complain that, oh, the battle drags on for way too long. To that, I say it's still a really cool battle, though. I mean, come on, it's a cool battle. You can't deny that. Um, um, oh, it's okay. Like this live stream will hopefully get uploaded to YouTube, so you can like watch through the whole thing if you want. Um, because to be honest, at this point, it would be really exhausting for me to try to recap everything. So, because honestly, I am getting a little exhausted at this point. Um, so I'm trying to get through these as quickly as I can. Um, but yeah, again, I love Space Godzilla. I don't understand why so many people absolutely hate it. Um, there are it does have issues, but I don't think it's terrible. You know, it's fun. It's a really fun movie. Um, Number 12, I have The Return of Godzilla or Godzilla 84, um, or Godzilla 1985, whatever you wanna call it. I also really like this movie. This really kinda brought Godzilla back. This is the movie that really brought Godzilla back to what he should be in my opinion, which is kind of a force of nature where he's kind of a villain, but he's he just doesn't really like people. Um, so, um, but yeah, I do enjoy this movie a lot. Really the only flaw with this, I would say, is the Godzilla design. It's definitely got some of that goofy Showa look to it that sometimes doesn't look the greatest, but overall, it's still really cool. I do love 84. Yeah, Space Godzilla is one of your favorite. Yeah, yeah. There are fans of Space Godzilla out there. I have seen a couple people that do actually really like it, but you mostly see a lot of people have negative opinions on it. So, um, but yeah. Um, Next, number 11, Godzilla versus Biollante from 1989. I love this movie. Oh my god, I love it so much. Um, I Biollante is a as a monster, I'm not too big into, although the Godzilla stuff in this movie is freaking amazing. Oh my god, some of the shots in this movie are god tier. Like the scene where Godzilla is just like when he's rampaging and then you have that shot where he's like where it's like on like a dolly, where it's like tracking his while he's walking over certain these buildings. You probably know what scene I'm talking about, but it was a really that's a really cool scene. Um, yeah, 84 is it is really good. But yeah, I love Biollante. It's really unfortunate that it's such a hard film to get. This movie is a pain in the ass to get on a DVD and Blu-ray because of how long it's been out of print. Um, but I think it's I'm pretty sure it's the hardest Godzilla movie to get on home video currently. Um, and it's a shame because it is a genuinely cool movie. So the human characters in it are also really good. I like the whole theme of the kind of, is science going too far type of theme, which I thought was really neat. So 84 on DVD. Yeah. Yeah, because that I think that's going out of print soon or has already gone out of print if I remember correctly. Because I don't think Kraken has it anymore if I remember right. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much Biolante. Again, I know I'm skimming through a lot of these right now, but that's because I really my voice is getting pretty tired and I want to kind of get through this as quick as I can. Um, So, getting to the top 10. Here we go, top 10. So number 10, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, 1991. Oh, again, I love it. I love it so much. Oh, I love the redesign of King Ghidorah in this so much. It's such a cool redesign. Easily one of my favorite Ghidorahs, if not my favorite Ghidorah, apart from maybe Kaiser Ghidorah and the legendary one. Um, I actually didn't really care for the, I hated the anime, redesign of Ghidorah, and I also didn't really care for the Showa version, believe it or not, and I thought the GMK one was okay, but the Heisei one is definitely one of my favorites. It has that very, it has more of a Western dragon look to it, which I really like. I'm a big fan of Western dragon designs. Um, so yeah, it's an amazing design. I love it. Um, it makes Ghidorah just look a lot more menacing and badass, like he should. I really did not like in the Showa movies how his he had the bobbly heads and the manes on his necks. I didn't really care for that too much, just because it looked a little too goofy. But again, that's Showa. So again, very low budget. So because a lot of those movies they were working with like pennies. So um, but yeah. But overall, like I love the 91 King Ghidorah so much. I love the plot. Yes, the future plot can be a little bit confusing, but what I would say to about that is that you just you can't think about that too much. Like most time travel plots, you really should not think about too much because you're just going to make yourself feel even more confused. You kind of have to just go along with it, which I know some people don't really want to turn their brain off when it comes to that, but this is definitely a movie where you kind of have to turn your brain off at least a little bit, to really enjoy it. Um, and I do understand why people don't like it because of the time travel thing or because of because some people think it's anti-American, which I don't think it is, to be fair. I mean, come on, like there the there's American big blockbusters that make fun of other cultures all the time. So like what makes it any different when it's a Japanese movie doing it? You know what I mean? Like it's pretty much it's the same thing. So um because again, over here American movies do the exact same thing. So they like poke fun at other cultures. So um but yeah. Um Void Ghidorah sucks. Yeah, definitely agree there. Um So yeah, that's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Again, love it. Love the redesigns. Um, and yeah. So number 9, I've got Godzilla Tokyo SOS from 2003. I do enjoy this movie a lot, although I do think this is the weakest of the Millennium series. Yet again, because Mothra. And the Mothra role in this really did bother me a little, at least a little bit, because there was the whole thing about, oh, Mothra is going to get mad if you don't return the bones to later rest, or Mothra will like run amok or whatever, which to me was just an excuse. To me, it just felt like an excuse to get Mothra in the movie. That's really what it felt like to me. Um, so it felt like Mothra was very forced in there. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree, which is fine, but that's just my 2 cents on it. All the Godzilla and Mechagodzilla stuff in this movie was really good, though. I really did enjoy that a lot. I do love the characters in this as well. So, um, uh, and here's where people are. This is where people are gonna be like, either, "Oh, that's awesome," or "No, screw you." And that is these two right here. So number 8 is, get ready for this. Godzilla King of the Monsters, the 2019 movie. I know, like, I can hear all the MonsterVerse haters just screaming at me right now. Like, or all the Toho purists just screaming at me right now, but, like, you know, I under I understand. I understand this movie is not very well made. I'm putting it straight and simple. It is not very well made. The characters are not very good. The only characters in this movie that are good are the only characters in this movie that are at least decent are the guy that I can't remember his name. I know he's played by was it Charles Dance, I believe, plays him. He's like the main villain. He was pretty good. Millie Bobby Brown was also really good in this movie. She has a lot of like emotional scenes that are, I think, are really well done. Um and Dr. Serizawa in this is also really good. Um but everybody else in this movie really is not very good. So I definitely agree that, it's not, um a lot of the characters in this movie are not very well written. Um, there's a lot of very cheesy, kind of cringy jokes in this movie as well that really are you just kind of cringe at. But for the most part, this movie I think delivers in its action. When there's action happening on screen, it is, I think, really, really well done. It's very fast paced, um, and it's very energetic. So, but yeah, so that's my take on that movie, anyways. Um, Number 7, we have the most recent, so far the most recent Godzilla movie, and that is Godzilla versus Kong. Um, this is also a movie that you'll find is very split. People either love this movie or hate it. Um, yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, people either love Godzilla versus Kong or hate it. You don't really find much people who have an in between opinion on it. Most likely, it depends on what kind of Godzilla fan you are, or what kind of like moviegoer you are. Like, if you want these movies to all have a personal like message, you are gonna hate this movie through and through. However, if you're in it for the entertainment like I am, you are absolutely going to love this movie. Um, so it really depends on the type of moviegoer you are here. So, um, but I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed it from start to finish. This definitely has some of the weakest characters, I think, of the entirety of the MonsterVerse. I think the only decent character in this I thought was the Madison. I thought she was okay. She was definitely better in King of the Monsters than she was here. Um, but she Millie Bobby Brown still does deliver a very good performance out of that character. Um, but everybody else definitely seems very flat. Like the villain is definitely very stereotypical, but I love him because of that reason. I love those stereotypical, like over the top, just villains like CEOs that like have this weapon that like, oh, this is something I'm going to use to cure the world, and it ends up going all haywire. That kind of generic plot, which yes is generic, but I love it because it's just so much fun. So, um, and the Mechagodzilla thing, I know a lot of people didn't like, because the fact that oh, we want to see just Godzilla and Kong, we don't want to see an interference where they have to team up or anything. But this movie, I think, does it in a smart way where they have to kind of agree with each other to take out Mechagodzilla. They kind of have to learn to agree with each other instead of just automatically just agreeing with each other. So, um, but I honestly, when I saw the design of Mechagodzilla at first, I hated it. I thought it looked awful. However, seeing him in action in the movie completely changed, like 180'd my opinion. Um, like he is so much better in the movie than he than his actual looks. Like never judge a book by its cover. So like the plasma beam he has is super badass. Um, and all the rocket launchers and everything on him, just really really cool. Not the best Mechagodzilla design wise, but in action he really sells it. So, um, I love this movie. It's so much fun. Um, but yeah, yeah, human characters aren't very good, but action wise, it is very very enjoyable. So, what number one? Yeah, if you know me well enough, you automatically know what my number one is. So, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Do not spoil it in the comments. Um, but I want it to be at least a little bit of surprise to people. But number 6, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters, all out attack. God, that is such a difficult name to say all at once. Um, But yeah, or GMK as many fans like to call it, for short. Um, I love this movie so much, and if you know me well enough, you know I absolutely love Godzilla being like an actual hardcore villain, like not just a force of nature type of villain, like an actual full on like killing machine kind of villain, like a villain that like so evil that they absolutely do not give a crap about anything. So, and I am all for that when it comes to Godzilla. And again, those of you who know me well enough know that I have a character based on Godzilla 2000 that is and like a full on like evil version of him. So I am a absolute sucker for evil kaiju's in general. So I just think they're really really cool. So, but but yeah, I love this movie. The only thing that I didn't like about it wasn't really Mothra, actually, it was more Ghidorah this time around because of what they do to his character, where, um, from before then, Ghidorah was always the villain, he was always, like, the full-on, like, villain, and here, he's actually a hero all of a sudden, which I feel like is a problem. Now, what you're probably saying, "Well, what about Godzilla?" You just said, like, Godzilla can, is cool as a villain. Well, the thing is, like, Godzilla has been so many different things. Godzilla can really be anything. He can be a hero, he can be a villain, he can be, a force of nature, he can be anything. Whereas Ghidorah has always been that villain, the villain of the whole thing. So, to have him as a hero all of a sudden just feels very, very odd. Um, so that was definitely, I think, the worst decision of that entire movie was including Mothra and Ghidorah instead of just going with their original concept, which was like Varen and Anguirus. That which would have made a lot more sense, but because Toho being Toho, uh, wanting to make it wanting to make money off of it, they put Mothra and Ghidorah in it because. So, but, alright, top 5, here we go, top 5, the movies that I really could not live without. Number 5 is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Easily the best Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla movie ever made, period. Like, I love the original, but man, oh man, this movie is awesome. I love it. It's got a great story in there as well. The main characters are very good. The mecha this is easily the best Mechagodzilla ever. Like, oh my god, it's so good. Um, and I love the fact what they do here is really smart with when it comes to Mechagodzilla. Like, they make it to where he's not a mindless robot. He actually has a personality inside, which I really like. I really like that twist. Um, so and of course they do it again with the Godzilla vs Kong, Mechagodzilla as well. So, um, which again I really like. I like when they're not just mindless robots, that they actually have somewhat of a sentience to them. So, but yeah, all I can say really is this movie is amazing. please watch it. In fact, I think this movie is actually I've heard it's actually gonna be screened at certain theaters for Godzilla Day, which is really cool. So, um, um, number 4. This one is going to be another very big hot take. And that is Godzilla versus Megaguirus. I love this movie. No, it's not just because Godzilla 2000 returns in this. Um, Even though, yes, Godzilla 2000 is my favorite Godzilla design, I love it to death, but that's not the only thing that I like about this movie. There's tons more to like about it. For whatever reason, this is one of the movies in the franchise that I really cannot understand why so many people dislike it. I really don't understand the dislikes for this because a lot of the no offense to people who dislike it, but I definitely think that a lot of the dislikes about this movie make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Um, like it feels like this movie is disliked for almost no particular reason. Um, and I do not get why. I really don't get why. Second Godzilla I think it was either my second or third. It was my second, third, fourth, somewhere around there. Because I watched it in like a marathon for when I first saw it, so on TV. Um, um, I love the characters in this movie. I love Akane. Um, or not Akane. Wrong character. That's against Mechagodzilla. Uh, Kyoko. That's right, Kyoko. Kyoko is the name I'm looking for. She is I love her. She's awesome in this. Um, I love the inventor as well. He's a really funny character. Um, I love this movie. Like, I love the final battle. I love everything with Godzilla in this as well. The action is so good. Oh my god, the opening is so cool. How they implement 2000 into like footage of 54. It's so it's so good. Um, and you have the really badass scene where she Akane um or I keep getting Akane and Kyoko mixed up. Kyoko, where she fires an RPG straight at Godzilla's neck, and it's one of the coolest things you will ever see. Like, there are so many cool things about this movie that I don't understand why so many I don't understand what the hatred to this movie is about. I really don't. I do not understand it. It's almost like this movie is hated for absolutely no reason. Um, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's boring," and I'm like, this movie is far from boring. This movie I would argue this is one of the most entertaining of Godzilla movies out there. Um, Honestly, I would say this is one of the most entertaining Godzilla movies out there, apart from maybe like 2000 and Final Wars, and stuff and Destroya. Um, but like I don't I this is something that does honestly frustrate me because it's like I don't get it. I don't get why this is so disliked. Um, because this movie deserves more love. It is so much fun. There's a lot of things to love about it. Just I don't get it. And then you've got people who are like, "Oh, the black hole cannon thing is dumb." And it's like we've seen way dumber things in Godzilla before. So why all of a sudden are you like, "Oh, black hole gun is dumb and I hate it." When those same people like the dumb stuff in the Showa movies. It's like this is basically this movie is essentially just a combination of like Heisei and Showa, which I like. So, um, but it yeah, that's definitely something that does honestly grind my gears about this fandom is why this movie is so disliked. I don't understand it. Um, a lot of the complaints about this movie honestly make absolutely no sense. Um, and again, it just feels like this movie is hated for no reason. But I don't want to get off too much on a tangent, but Megaguirus I absolutely adore. It's one of my favorites of the entire franchise, and that's why it's so high on this list. But yeah, so um so yeah, Megaguirus is my number four. Um, Number three, Godzilla versus Destroya from 1995. I love this movie. I know recently it has gotten there are people that have been starting to dislike it over time, but honestly, I think it holds up really well. This movie was at the time a very good send off to the character. Um, the ending really spoke for itself. Where he dies, but then he's resurrected as like showing that yes, Godzilla may be dead, but his legacy will live on. So, which is definitely something this film did very well. And I love Destroya as well. Destroya is one of my absolute favorite Godzilla monster or villain monsters. Um, so yeah, this movie is a lot of fun. I absolutely love it. Um, all right, top two. N- if you guys know me very well, you probably already know what they are. Number two is drum roll, please. Godzilla 2000. Um, oh my god, I mean, if you can probably tell by the picture I'm using for this StreamYard here already, and my profile picture on YouTube, you already know like 2000 is one of my favorites just by looking at my profile. Um, oh, this movie, I love it, I love it, I love it so much. Yes, the CGI is bad, but honestly, that doesn't bad CGI is something that never bothers me. Um, so and there are parts of the movie they had to use CGI for because some of the stuff some of that stuff you cannot do with a suit. Like the underwater scene, you might be able to pull it off with a suit, but it would be very, very difficult and would be very, very dangerous for the suit actor to do. It's like put him fully underwater and stuff. So that's why they ultimately had to do that scene CGI. And while it doesn't look the greatest, it's still something that's cool. Of we getting a scene of Godzilla actually swimming underwater. So no, it's not. It's not number one. I mean, the number one is the only Godzilla movie that I haven't said yet, obviously. But yeah, 2000. I love it so much. It's very hard. It's definitely in between this or Final Wars as my. It's but I think Final Wars just edges it out just a little bit more, just a little bit. Although it's very, very close. Um, I adore this movie. I adore 2000 so much. I love the redesign. The redesign is, oh, it's so good. It by far the best Godzilla ever made. Suit the person who designed this suit needs a medal, like, straight up. Oh, I love it so much. It's just this is the most lizard-like Godzilla we have seen besides '98, where, it actually it's the silhouette of Godzilla, just an actual full-on, like, lizard design with, like, a crocodile-looking face to him and everything. So, I love the massive spines, the purple spines, just it sticks out really well, and I love it. It looks so menacing and just oh, it's so good. I love it. I could spend hours and hours and hours talking about how much I love the design. Um, the design alone, but yeah, I love the movie as a whole. They actually give us an explanation in this movie to why Godzilla is so strong. Why his skin is so strong, which I also really liked. Um, oh, that's cool. Um, that's cool, Mellow. But yeah, oh, like 2000, I love it so much. Orga is one of the most underappreciated Godzilla villains out there. He's so cool. I am a big fan of monsters that can shapeshift and become different things, and Orga is just that. So, but yeah, um, um, there's not much else I have to say besides I love it so much. Like, oh, it's so good. There's so many shots in this movie that are god tier. Like the freaking every time Godzilla is in front of like a burning city, there's so many great shots in this movie of Godzilla being in uh standing in front of the flames, or in the like a red sky, and Godzilla just standing in front of it. Just it looks so good. Um, and then you also have and this Godzilla actually isn't very big. He's pretty much the same size as the Showa versions. Although there's a lot of great compositing they do in this movie that really makes him look a lot bigger than he actually is, which I like. You don't really see that in a lot of the Showa movies, to be fair. Like, you don't see that type of, like, he, he looks bigger than he actually is, except for maybe 54. But but yeah, so it's this such a well shot movie. I love it. Um, and then finally, number one, you probably all know what it is because I haven't said it. I haven't listed it yet, but number one, of course, is Godzilla Final Wars. Now, this movie is also infamous for being very split in the fandom. You either love it or you hate it. There's hardly an in between. So, um, but I am one of those people, obviously, who absolutely adore it. Like, oh my god, I love it so much. And I do get some of the complaints for it. I do understand why people don't like it. You know, yes, there's not really a big focus on the monsters in this movie, but however, I think the action in general that happens in this movie more than makes up for it. Um, this movie is entertaining from start to finish. Yeah, exactly, exactly, Draco. And Kitamura is known for being just this crazy, crazy director that has directed some of these absolutely crazy action films. So if you've seen a Kitamura movie, you know what you're getting into when it comes to Final Wars. So it is absolutely insane. Some of the honestly, in my opinion, some of the best characters of the entire franchise are in this movie. You have the kind of generic, like, over the top villain again, which I love. I love those types of villains. As I grew up with a lot of Power Rangers and stuff like that growing up, so I love that stuff. Um, but yeah, it in fact, yes, Final Wars does definitely feel like a 2 hour Power Rangers episode. It has a lot of big similarities to the Power Rangers and Sentai series of just how it's paced and how energetic it is. Um, but yeah, so I again absolutely adore this movie. Best Godzilla movie in my opinion. Um, it is a great homage to the 50 years of the franchise. Um, yes, the monster scenes are a little too short, but honestly, again, that never bothered me just because of how entertaining the movie is overall. You really kind of have to look at the bigger picture when it comes to a movie like this. Um, but yeah. Um, so yeah, that is every every Godzilla movie um ranked from my least favorite to my most favorite. So, oh, nice, nice. That's really cool, Draco. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, as I said in the beginning, if you guys missed it, I will be doing a kind of a bonus part here where I'll be talking about kind of Godzilla movies that I would want to see get made, or types of movies that in Godzilla movies that I'd want to see made. So, for those of you who know me really well on Twitter and Discord, you may already know this, but I I plan on making a film with kind of this vilified version of Godzilla 2000 of mine, where basically it's kind of similar to Final Wars in a way where it's over the top but also kind of dark at the same time. So, like I want to like um do something that Godzilla has never done before, which is really the closest thing to that is GMK. But here's what it is. So this Godzilla is like so evil to where just like he even has kind of like he'll sometimes have like that venom smile on him as well, just to add that little bit of extra to it. And then um this movie would be just like him basically just absolutely just going crazy. Um, like I want to make a Godzilla film like that where it's just him just like going absolutely insane, just like, like eating people even with like gore, make it like at least a little gory and stuff like that, kind of like a slasher film. I think that would honestly be really cool. That is something we have never seen in a Godzilla movie ever. And I think, yes, it would be a really just kind of edgy and cheesy idea, but to be honest, it would be really cool at the same time. Because I mean, you know, again, Godzilla has never done something like that before, so I always thought it would be, kind of fun just to do that, just to have, like, this absolute just, like, the most sinister you can possibly make a Godzilla, just, like and then on top of that, he is gonna be created by or not really created, but corrupted by, aliens. I've had an idea where, like, it would be, a combination of the Xelians from mostly from Final Wars and the Vortak from the Pipeworks games, and they would kinda team up and, like, basically corrupt Godzilla's mind to where Godzilla wouldn't be controlled by them necessarily. It would actually be a lot more sinister than that, where his whole mind, where his whole like mind is like corrupted to where all he can think about now is just causing just absolute chaos and just and enjoying the chaos, like that kind of just really sinister like type of villain. And I think that would honestly be yes, it's edgy, but I think it would be fun at the same time. I think it would be fun to at least try and see just how it works out. I do have a couple of friends that are also, trying to me and a couple of friends are really trying to get this type of movie made. We're trying to do like an animated film of it, which is going pretty slow because we're all very busy. But I definitely would want to make it happen just to see just to see the reaction of it and like you know um just because again it's something that we've never seen Godzilla do before. So but yeah, um that's really a Godzilla movie that I would want to see made. Just again because like I said, something we've never seen Godzilla do before. So it would kind of be a nice little twist. Um, I've kind of a spoiler alert here, but I've also had the idea of there being a twist near the end where Godzilla actually succeeds. He succeeds in destroying Earth. And I am kind of hoping to go along with that as like an interesting little twist, just because we're always used to like the hero say always saving the day, and like I want to have like a little twist in there, just to make it a little bit just kind of extra. um just to have it just at least a little bit be a little bit unexpected. So um but yeah, we are also planning on having a Kiryu fight in there as well at some point. We're kind of debating on where we want that to be. I've been kind of discussing it with those friends of mine, um, who are who are basically on the project with me. So, but yeah, I think I think it's a really cool idea. Um, and it's definitely not gonna be for everybody, like, there are gonna be some people that are gonna be like, "Oh, edge lord," or, like, "Oh, this just Godzilla, but, like, edgy," or, whatever, and I understand, it's definitely not gonna be for everybody, but I think it would just be a really fun thing to at least try. Um, so but, yeah, because I have gotten some of my friends even that have said that, this isn't really I don't, they don't really agree with the idea, which is fine. So, but I just think it would be really cool. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the Godzilla movie that I would want to see made. Um, but that's pretty much it. So, I also would love oh, excuse me. I also would love to see um like some of those canceled Godzilla movies made at some point, like, the Godzilla versus Bagan, or, like, Godzilla versus the Wolfman, which I believe actually does exist in some way. Um, I'd love to see those, made as well, like some of those canceled films, made at some point, so oh, that's really cool, Mello. Um, I need to I need to check that out at some point. Um, but yeah, I've gone on for a little over 2 hours now, so, um, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Um, I'm hoping to get this uploaded to YouTube so everyone can watch it, so that, you know, it's as this is more kind of intended to be watched as a video instead of a stream. I'm just doing this as a stream because I really don't like editing. So, um, but yeah. Um, Thank you all for joining, and thank you all for watching as well. And I will see you all later. I really hope you guys enjoyed this.